Today we are going to start with the chapter 14, and the chapter is talking about the details about the patent office. Whatever the patent office we have in India, so how the patent office established and how it works in India. So start with section 73. Section 73 is talking about the details of controller and other officers who are inferior to the controller or sub officers or examiners or administrative officers that are working with controller. So section 73 talks that in our Indian Patent Office we have Controller General of Patents, Design and Trademark. So the Controller General of our Patent Office is taking care of all the working of patents, design and trademark. And the Controller General is appointed. The appointment of Controller General is happened under Section 3, subsection 1 of Trademark Act. So Trademark Act 1999, on which this Trademark Act Section 3 subsection 1 defined regarding the Controller General, and he is responsible for patents, design and trademark. So in Patent Act, we do not have any definitions or the establishment or the working regarding the Controller General. In Trademark Act 1999, it was defined. So this section 73 is defined that central government is responsible for the appointment of. So in section 73, it is disclosed that central government is responsible for the appointment of controller and maybe assistant controller or other controllers also. So the appointment of controllers and assistant controller or sub controller will be under the responsibility of central government, and other examiners and other administrative officers all will be appointed by the central government. Okay. And every patent office has one head that is called controller. Okay. And the controller has the power to transfer the matter from any of the officers. Controller has the power to take the matter from any of person. Suppose from examiner A is doing something, so the controller has a power to take that work or responsibility from examiner A and transfer that work examiner B. Okay, and he also has power to transfer that other work himself also. So controller also can take any work from any examiner. It can be regarded to any proceeding, any FER reply or any FER report or examination. Whatever the matter currently is happening, the controller has a power to transfer that matter to other examiners or officers, and he can transfer that work to himself also. And in transferring that work, the controller has a power to start that matter de novo, means from the beginning. So he can start maybe searching, examination, writing, or second FER, whatever it is. He can start that work from fresh, or whatever the current stage that work it is on, maybe he can start that work from that stage. So it depends upon the controller, what he is transferring from whom to whom and from which stage. If he is doing that work, so he can start fresh that work, or start from the day the work is transferred to him. So he can start at that stage also. Section 74 is talking about types of or number of patent offices and its branches. So central government in his official gazette has disclosed that we have patent office, and there is one main patent office, it is in Calcutta, and other three are branches of patent office. And the names of our patent offices are also published in official gazette by the central government. So central government has the power to name the patent offices, their branches, and every patent office have their own seal. So whatever the documents they are sending out of the patent office, they affix that document with the seal. So it is the guarantee that that document is coming from patent office. So now we have two sections, section 75 and 76. Section 75 and 76 are talking about what kind of restrictions are imposed into the officers of patent office. So whosoever working, either he is a controller or assistant controller or maybe any administrative officer or maybe examiners, any person who is working in patent office, so what kind of restrictions are imposed into them. So section 75 is talking restriction on employees of patent office. So whosoever is working in patent office, what kind of restrictions are imposed regarding to the rights and interest in patents. So the patents who are filed in different patent offices, so there is restriction that employees of patent office will not have any right on those patents. This section is talking that every employee of patent office shall be incapable during the period for which they hold their appointment. So during their professional time period or the years they are working in patent office, they will be incapable to acquire or take. Okay. To acquire means they cannot take or buy or something related to patent directly or indirectly. Maybe they are third person or in medium something, except by inheritance. If from their family they are getting any rights, maybe in their family someone was inventor. Okay, so except inheritance or bequest by Indian law, except these two conditions, all the employees of patent offices will be incapable for any rights, any interest in any patent issued by that office. And even they cannot file patent also during their appointment term in patent office. Clear with this? Section 75. What are the restrictions with the employees of patent office? Any question regarding section 75? Okay. So it is restriction to the employees of patent office that whosoever working in patent office, any of the four patent offices, one is head office, and other 3 are branch offices, that except they are receiving something from inheritance. Maybe their father or mother or brother, some are inventors. So except from those inheritance, they cannot have any right or interest in any patent issued by that office. They cannot file patent, or they cannot have any share of any patent issued by that office. Section 76. Officers means patent office officers and the employees, whosoever working, examiners, controllers, whatever, or administrative officers, not to furnish information. These officers, employees will not furnish any information to anybody. Okay? Unless until in writing they are directed either from central government or state government or any authorization under government. Except in these conditions, means except in writing they have directed to furnish information from central government, state government, or any person from authorized under the government to furnish the information. Except under these conditions, they will not furnish information to anybody. So restriction of all the officers and employees to do not furnish information on a matter which is being or has been dealt under this act. So under Patent Act, whatever the Patent Act is carrying, all the acts, rules, forms, anything, drafting, searching, any officers will not furnish any information, any matter to anybody regarding to this Patent Act. Employees or officers of Patent Office will not prepare or assist in the preparation of document required. In drafting, inventor or to applicant, they will not prepare or assist in the preparation of any document required or permitted by or under this act to be lodged in the Patent Office. If some other person is required to prepare or to assist to file any document in Patent Office, and that person contact any officers or employee that is working in Patent Office regarding the preparation or the drafting of any matter or something. So at that time, that person will not furnish any requirement. Okay, and officers and employees will not conduct a searching in the records of the Patent Office. So under these conditions, they will not furnish any information. Whatever is happening within the Patent Office, they will not communicate anything, any information regarding to this act to somebody outside. Neither they will prepare or assist any document writing, in drafting and anything. They will not assist anybody. Neither they will conduct any search in the records of the Patent Office. Unless until the instruction is given in writing by the central government or the state government or any person who is authorized under the government. Under these conditions, they will do whatever the thing is required to do. Except these conditions, they will not furnish anything to anybody. Clear with this? It will depend upon the controller. So the question is that I am an inventor, file that patent and grant the patent from Patent Office, but during that granting procedure, I join the Patent Office. So what will happen? So this is a very rare case. So it is, if before joining you have done something, then it will not be any cause of concern. But after joining, you will not be able to, if you have filed your patent before your appointment of patent office, then you will be the owner of that patent. Okay? But during the patent office, that joining period, you cannot file patent. If it has happened before your joining, then you will be the owner or applicant of that patent. Here, now we have next section, chapter 17. Chapter 17 is talking about use of inventions. So inventions are using by someone, maybe by the grantee or the patentee, whom the patent is assigned, or that invention is used by licensee. Okay, but the usage of that invention is for the purpose of government. If the commercial use or the making, using, or that renting or licensing of that invention is happening not for the grantee or that patentee, but they are using for the purpose of government. Okay, then those inventions we will cover in this chapter. And not only usage of inventions, acquisition of inventions also. So central government, if they have any requirement, like currently we are facing, they have the power, central government has power to acquire granted inventions or patents. So here we have two conditions, that granted inventions will be used for the purpose of government, and the other condition, acquisition of that granted invention by the central government. So here the authorities are two, and first is use of invention and other is acquisition of invention. So section 99 is talking meaning of use of invention for the purpose of government. So this section is telling that what is the meaning, what conditions will be considered under the use of invention for the government purpose, what kind of usage will be considered under this chapter. So usage for the purpose of government, usage of your invention for the purpose of government. And if your invention is made, used, exercised, or vended, rented for the purpose of central government, a state government, or a government undertaking. So either of these, any three government, your invention is made by, used by, or exercised or vended for the government purpose, then this section will apply. Okay. So here we have one section called section 47. We already discussed that any importation, using, or distribution of any medicine or drug. So in section 47, there is one kind of condition we have discussed, that distribution of medicine or drug in dispensary, in hospital, or in that government clinics, or for the distribution of information to the students, and for experimental purposes. So these are the exceptionals where the usage was done by third party. So in all three, there is one use that was undertaken by the government. So the in section 47, we have three kinds of usage by third party. But the last one was for the purpose of government. So the distribution of medicine and drug for the purpose of government is comes under this only. So in section 47, they just talked that same as like this distribution of medicine or drug, this chapter will also talk about the government usage. Here in medicine or drug, they just told that this maybe this is one kind of application of your invention. Okay, they there may be other kind of usage of inventions or acquisition of invention also for other purposes, but the section 47 regarding medicine or drug distribution is one of a kind of government purpose. Section 100. Section 100 is talking the power of controller, the power of central government, the power of central government to use inventions. Here they are talking about that central government has a power given by the Patent Act to use any invention, whether it is in an application form or whether it is in granted form. Central government has the power to use the invention for the purpose of government only, not other than this purpose. So this section is talking that either any patent application that is filed means your patent is in application form, or your patent has been granted. In either of these any condition, the central government and any person who is authorized in writing by it, central government has authorized that person in writing. So any one of these may use your invention for government purposes. So they talked that either your application, your patent is an application, it is just filed or maybe not filed, and it is maybe your patent is granted. Any of these conditions, central government or any authorized party can use your invention for government purposes. So now section 100 is talking that if that usage is before the priority date of the claim, if your invention is not filed, any priority document is not submitted to the patent office, you do not have any priority date. Okay, and then your invention is recorded in any document or tested or tried by the government. So your patent is not filed, you didn't acquired any priority date yet, it is still a written document only, nothing happened to it, it is not in application stage also. At that time, if your invention is documented, recorded, tested or tried by the government or any government undertaking, or there is any communication happened between the applicant and the government or the government authority, directly or indirectly, okay, by the patentee or any other person. So that use of any invention. Okay, so this is talking about that after grant of the patent, after grant of the patent, they have given one condition that the patent was used by the government before filing of that priority date. So what will happen? So then patentee or any other person, then any use of that invention maybe will be will be free of any royalty or other remuneration to the patentee. If your patent is before the filing date of your invention, before the priority date is documented, tested, tried or communicated also, with the government or any government undertaking. So then the usage of your invention will be royalty free. Clear with this? Section 102. Any question in this? Subsection 2. Now we have section 100, that is power of central government to use inventions for the purpose of government. Now we have subsection. No, if it is the usage or the testing or the communication is before the priority date of your invention, then the patentee will not receive any royalty. Okay. Now the next condition is the invention has not been, neither the invention is recorded, neither it is tried or tested. Then any of these things didn't happen. Any use of the invention made by the central government. Okay. Neither your invention is recorded, neither it is tried, neither it is tested, but central government use your invention any time after the grant of the patent. Your patent is granted and then after that central government is using your patent. Then the usage terms, what will be the royalty or the profits or the sharing. So those terms may be agreed upon either before or after the usage. So whatever the terms the central government or the patentee has been discussed, maybe before the use of invention or maybe after the use of invention. So either terms are discussed, on those terms the government will use your invention. Okay. Or between the central government or authorized person and the patentee. So if there is any terms are discussed with the central government, any authorized person and the patentee before the usage or after the usage of invention, those terms will apply. Or if there is any agreement on which the terms are finalized, that will apply. And if default of agreement, there is no agreement finalized for the usage of the invention, then high court will come into, here the T is missing, then the high court will come into the picture. Okay. If there is no terms finalized, there is no agreement is there, then whatever the high court will decide, those terms will be the terms for the usage of the invention for the government purpose. Clear with this? This is talking about the after a grant of patent. Any question in this? Now we have section 100, subsection 4. The power of the central government to use the invention for the purpose of government. So this subsection 4 is talking about in respect of which such authorization, the government authorization is given or done. Okay. So central government or government undertaking has given in written the authorization to any person for the usage of that invention. Okay. So and may be given to any person. The authorization was given to any person. So whether or not he is authorized directly or indirectly, so it doesn't matter that whosoever the person is authorized by the government is directly in contact with the applicant or patentee, or by indirectly they have, that authorized person has any connection with the applicant or patentee. But if they have authorization letter for the usage, so those person will have right to make, use, exercise, vend the invention or import the machine, apparatus or other article, medicine or drug covered by such patent. So it doesn't matter whether that authorized person is directly have communication with the applicant or patentee. Okay, in lack of that communication also, if that person is authorized in writing by the central government, so that person will have right to make, use, exercise and all the rights of the patents. Okay. Subsection 2 is talking about before the priority date, and 3 is talking about the usage of invention after the grant of patent. So if the invention is used before the priority date, then there will be no royalty. In 102, the invention is not filed even. There is no date, there is no priority date. So there will be no royalty. In 103, the patent is granted. Okay, so whatever the agreement or terms they have agreed, the two parties, that will be exercised. And if there is no communication happened before or after the usage of the invention, then High Court will come into the picture. Then High Court will decide what will be the terms and usage or the royalty or remuneration uh, regarding his description. Clear with this? Subsection 3. Here they're talking about whether or not that authorized person is directly connected with applicant or patentee. Doesn't matter. That authorized person will have all the rights to use the patented invention or the medicine or drug covered by such patent. Subsection 5 is talking in case of national emergency or other circumstances of extreme urgency, any epidemic, any pandemic, any cyclone, tsunami is happened, okay, or for non-commercial use also. So government will not take any uh, money or any amount from the usage of your invention. So in these three conditions, national emergency, extreme urgency, or non-commercial use, except in these conditions, the government shall notify the patentee. Whosoever be the holder of that patent, the government will notify the patentee as soon as practicable. So government will send notice to the patentee as soon as possible the facts and furnish, okay, of the facts. So the usage of patentee's invention, the authorized person, who will use, where it will use, in what extent that invention will be used. All the facts will be furnished by the government to the patentee. But in these three conditions, there is no obligation to government to furnish any information. And furnish him with such information as to the extent of the use of the invention also. And there is one condition also, whosoever, if patentee is also using, or maybe any person is using that patented invention, he need to give the information, the working of information, the extent of the usage of invention to the government also. So if government has called someone to give the current stage of the usage of the invention, and that person, that is any authorized person or maybe a patentee or licensee also, if they do not furnish that information to the central government, then there is a penalty for this. Okay, so the usage of the invention for the government purpose, the government has the right to ask for the working of that invention also. The central government may call for such information as may be necessary for the for this purpose and under such undertaking. So central government may call anybody whosoever is authorized by the central government, and central government can ask for information, okay, regarding this usage of invention, and whosoever takes the undertaking to furnish that information, the extent and usage of that information, so that person if not furnish the same thing to central government, so then the central government will be give some penalty to those person. Clear with this subsection 4 and 5? Now we have section 100 subsection 6. The right to make, use, exercise and vend an invention for the purpose of government or central government or the government undertaking, any authorized person. The rights will include that the right to sell. Okay, so government or the central government or the state government or any government authorized person will have a right to sell your patent on non-commercial basis. The goods have been made in exercise of that right. So with your patented invention, if any drug or medicine is manufactured, so the government will have right to sell your product also. And purchaser of goods so sold, whosoever is purchasing that medicine or whatever the thing is uh, made by that patented invention, the purchaser and a person claiming through him or maybe some other distributor also shall have the power to deal with the goods. So purchaser, distributor will have the power to deal with the goods that are made from the patented invention as if the central government or the person authorized were the patentee of the invention. So purchaser or other persons under him will deal with the goods like central government is the authority or the main owner of that patent, or he is or they are the patentee only, or any person authorized by the central government is the patentee. So the purchaser of goods or any person who are purchasing that goods made from patented invention will have the same right to deal with the central government or any authorized person like they are the patentee only. Any question? Now we have section 100 subsection 7. Suppose before the usage of patented invention by the central government, before the use of that patented invention, already there is one exclusive licensee. Okay, so the real patentee has given exclusive licensee. Exclusive licensee means the license or the transfer of rights to only one person. Okay, exclusive means only one person, only one authority. Even the patentee will also not be able to use his own invention. So this is called exclusive licensee. So before usage of that patented invention, the patentee has given rights to exclusive licensee, or where such patent has been assigned to the patentee, or either there the patent has given to for license or it is assigned. In assignment, ownership transferred to other patentee, but in license, ownership is vested with the patentee only. Okay, only rights to work with that invention transfers. So if either in any of these two conditions, either the patented invention is given to exclusive license or it has been assigned to some other patentee in consideration of royalties or other benefits determined by reference to the usage of the invention. Okay, so in either of these two conditions, the notice directed to be given to the patentee. If any notice is given by the central government or any government authority to the patentee, shall also be deemed to be given to such exclusive licensee or assigner also. So if there is one notice is given to patentee, it shall be deemed to be that same notice has given to the exclusive licensee or the assigner also, as the case may be. And the reference to the patentee shall be deemed to include a reference to such assigner or exclusive licensee. If any reference has given to the regarding the royalty or payment or anything, if anything is directed to the patentee, it shall be deemed that it include assigner also and the exclusive licensee also. Clear with this? Now we have section 101, rights of third parties in respect of use of invention for the purpose of government. So if there is any third party, some other licensees or patentees are using that same invention for the purpose of government. So what will be the rights of third parties? Any license, assignment or agreement, okay, that is granted or made between the patentee or applicant for the patent or any person other than the central government. So if patentee or applicant except from central government, they have give, assign, license, made agreement regarding usage of their invention with some other third party. So that usage, assignment, agreement will be no effect. Okay, if that agreement or license is given by the patentee or applicant to some other party, third party, except central government, so that license will be of, shall be of no effect. If those rights, those agreements that are given to third party are restricting, regulating the use for the purpose of government. If the license, assignment or agreement made by the patentee or the applicant with some other third party, and those agreement are restricting the government use, then those agreement will be of no effect. Any model, any document or information, anything related to that invention, if that is that agreement is restricting or regulating the usage by the central government, so that agreement or document will be of no effect. Second, if that agreement provide for the making of payments in respect of any use of the invention or of the model for the uh, document or information relating thereto for the purpose of government. If the usage of that invention need to be on the ground of making some payments. Okay. So that use of that invention by the central government is required to make payments. Okay. So at that time, that agreement will have no effect. So whatever the agreement, license or agreement done by the patentee grantee with some other third party that are not using that invention uh, for the government purpose. So those agreement will be of no effect if they are restricting the government use, or they are in the condition for making payments. So in both the conditions, that agreement will be of no use. The reproduction or publication. So if whatever the invention and the documents related to it, the any model, any publication, any reproduction or document, if that is used by the central government, okay, so that usage shall not be deemed to be infringement of copyright. Okay. So anything, any model, any document or any publication, if it is usage for the government purpose, so that thing will not constitute copyright infringement. Any question? Section 101, rights of third party in respect of usage of invention for the purpose of government, and subsection is 2, where the patent, the whole patent, or the right to apply for the patent, or the right to obtain a patent. So the whole patent has been assigned to some other patentee. So maybe one applicant or maybe one patentee has assigned right to apply to obtain a patent has been assigned to some other patentee in consideration of royalties or other benefits. Then any use of the invention for the purpose of the government by the patentee. Okay. So to whom the patent is assigned. Okay. So that patentee, if using that invention for government purpose, in order of the central government shall have effect as if that use were made by virtue of an authority given under section 103. So section 103 is talking about the authorization of some other person before that after grant of patent. After grant of patent, usage of invention. So here the transfer of rights or assignment of patented invention from one applicant or from one patentee to other patentee will deal with the related to section 103. Here also reference to the patentee included a reference to the assigner of the patent. So if there is something referred to the patentee, the current authorized user of the invention, if something is referred to him, so it will be deemed that same thing will be reference to the assigner who assigned that patent. Any sum payable shall be divided between the patentee and the assigner. So who assigned the invention and to whom the patent was assigned. So if something need to be paid, they both will decide between them in such proportion as may be agreed. If for the usage of invention for the government purpose, if somebody has assigned some other patentee, so then if there any amount is payable, it will happen on the term discussed between them. If there is any agreement present, so the default terms will be happened, and if not, then again that high court will come into the picture, and then high court will decide the uh, sum or payable between the assigner and the patent. Now we have again subsection 3. Under section 100 subsection 3, payments are required to be made by the central government. So central government needs to pay something, or persons authorized in respect of the use of the invention. So either central government will pay or the authorized person in respect of the use of a invention for the purpose of government, and where there is any exclusive licensee is there authorized under his license to use the invention for the purpose of government. So government has given patented invention to exclusive licensee, and that he is the authorized person. He is using the invention for the government purpose. So whatever the share or benefits will be, such sum shall be shared by the patentee and that licensee. So either the applicant in previous subsection 2, the sum was shared by the applicant and the patentee. Here the sum is shared by the patentee and the exclusive license. So this is the difference between subsection 2 and 3. Either whatever the terms they have agreed, or if there is any agreement present, or maybe the high court will decide. And in deciding, the expenditure occurred by the licensee in developing, if licensee has developed any or did any modification of that invention, that will also be considered by the high court. And in making payments to the patentee other than royalty or benefits, other benefits or royalties or payments are also will be considered before the sharing of sum between the exclusive licensee and the patent. Clear with this? Section 102, acquisition of invention and patents by the central government. So 101 are talking about the usage of invention, but 102 is talking about the acquisition of invention by the central government. So here all the power, all the rights will be vested to the central government. All the rights of patentees or grantees will be transferred to the central government, and they will be given some royalties or remuneration depending upon the case. So if invention is acquired from the applicant or the patentee for the public purpose, So central government will publish a notification to that effect in the official gazette. Central government in the official gazette will publish a notification for the acquisition of the invention. And thereupon the invention or patent and all rights in respect of the invention of that patent shall, by force of this section, will transfer to the central government. So under section 102 subsection 1, if your applicant, if your patent is in application stage or it is already granted, central government thinks that your invention may be useful for the public purpose, then they will publish a notification in official gazette, and then all rights will be transferred to the central government. Notices will be sent to applicant or joint applicants, patentee or joint patentees or other interested persons whose names are entered in register. So all the persons, inventors, applicants, grantees, whatever the interested person who are related to that invention, this acquisition notice will be sent to all from the central government. And compensation will be given either to applicant or the patentee as may be agreed upon, or if there is any agreement, so depending upon the terms of the agreement, or in default if agreement is not present, then High Court will decide the rights or the transfer of that compensation need to be given to the applicant or the patentee. So section 103 is talking about if there is no terms, no agreement on which the usage of invention is determined, then High Court will come into picture, and then if there is any dispute regarding the terms and the sum or the money or the amount remuneration, if there is any dispute happened between the parties, then High Court will give the decision. So reference to the High Court of dispute as to the use for the purpose of the government. So after the dispute is happened, so that case will refer to the High Court for the decision. So if any dispute as to the exercise by the central government or a person authorized by it of the powers conferred under section 100 regarding the terms for the usage of the invention for the purpose of government thereunder, or as to the right of any person to receive any part of the payment. So regarding the terms of the usage of the invention or the payment received by the applicant of the or the patentee or the compensation. So in these kind of disputes, the case will transfer to the High Court. So either of the both party, either central government or state government or any authorized person or the applicant or patentee. So both the party can have initiate that case in High Court. And if that the case proceeding, one party is central government, okay, if one party is central government against the applicant or patent, then if the patentee is a party to the proceedings, so central government by way of petition can file counter claim for revocation of the patent. Central government can file petition for by way of counter claim for the revocation of the patent on any ground upon which the patent may be revoked. So if during the dispute and the proceeding is going on in High Court and there is one party is central government will have the power to petition in the High Court regarding the counter claim of revocation of your patent. if central government is whether a patentee is or is not a party of the proceeding, but in issue the validity of the patent without petitioning for its revocation. This subsection is telling that if central government is not the party, still they can initiate the issue for the validity of the patent also. Okay. So during the proceedings of dispute in High Court, such proceedings, any question during such proceedings, any question arises whether an invention has been recorded, tested, tried, as mentioned in section 100, and the disclosure of any document regarding the invention or of any evidence of the test or of the trial thereof would, in opinion of the central government, be prejudicial to the public interest. So if the testing, trying, or the disclosure of any document related to the invention, the central government think that it would be prejudicial to the public. So at that time, that disclosure will be confidential. The disclosure of testing, trying, or other documents related to the disclosure of patented invention, if the central government is of the opinion that the discussion of that testing or trying of that invention will be prejudicial to the public interest, then the disclosure of that invention will be made in confidential, the advocate of the other party or to the independent experts. If High Court is taking expert advice, then also whatever the testing, trying, or documents related to invention is presented will be presented in confidential manner. Section 103, reference to High Court of dispute as to use for the purpose of invention. So again, in High Court, the proceeding is initiated regarding the usage or the amount to be payable to the applicant or to the patentee. That case is initiated. Then subsection 4 is telling that dispute between the central government and any person authorized under central government as to the terms for the use of an invention for the purpose of the government, the High Court shall have regard to any benefit or compensation which that person or any person from whom he derives title may be received or may be entitled to receive directly or indirectly in respect of the use of the invention in question for the purposes of the government. So if there is any dispute between the central government and other person, the other person may be applicant, may be patentee, may be licensee. Okay, so the High Court will have regard that whatever the benefits or the compensation that person is receiving directly or indirectly regarding the usage of the invention for the government purpose. So the High Court will also consider the compensation that other person is receiving for the usage of that invention for the purpose of the government. High Court may at any time order the whole proceeding, any question, issue of fact arising to be referred to official, referee or commissioner or arbitrator. Okay, so High Court has the power to do the whole proceeding or to arise any question relating to the facts or for the discussion of anything and any question. High Court can refer those topics or the issues to any official referee and or maybe to the commissioner or any arbitrator. Okay, and then High Court shall take the statement from those referees or commissioners or arbitrators regarding the current dispute. Subsection 6. Where the invention claimed in a patent was made by a person who at the time it was made was in the service of the central government. If the current invention is made by any employee of central government, any central government employee or state government employee or any employee of a government undertaking. Okay, any employee of the government agency, and the subject matter of the invention is certified by the relevant government or the principal officer of the government undertaking. So either any employee of central government, state government, government undertaking, and that invention is certified by the officers of the government. Okay, and the work was done in the course of the normal duties of the government servant. So during the government duty, the invention was proposed or it was happened or it was uh, created. Okay, so at that time, if any dispute is arise, any dispute of the nature relating to the invention shall be disposed of by the central government. So if any employee of central government, state government or any government undertaking during his professional tenure devised any invention and that invention is certified by the government authority, okay, so that case or that dispute will be disposed by the central government. Okay, but before doing so, central government shall give opportunity to the patentee and any such other parties as it consider it, that have interest in the matter to be heard. So central government will dispose this case, and before disposing, the central government will do the hearing of any patentee or any other party or any interested person in this matter. Any question with government use? Now we are going to start next chapter. If the invention is happened during the service tenure of any central government employee or state government employee or any government undertaking, if employee of any of these is working and that the matter of that invention is certified by the government official also, at that time the central government will have the power to dispose this case, and before disposing they will hear the other parties or the other applicant or patentee also. Clear with this? Yes. So now we have next chapter, chapter 20. What are the provisions given by the patent office regarding the penalties? Okay. So whosoever has default of something, so what should be the penalties uh, will be given to that person or that company is discussed in chapter 20. Title is penalty. Start with section 118, contravention of secrecy provisions relating to certain inventions. So if there is any contravention of secrecy directions, so either the applicant is violating section 35 or making the grant of your patent by the violation of section 39, foreign filing without receiving permission from Indian Patent Office. So either there is violation of secrecy directions or violation of that foreign filing. In both of these conditions, if there is any contravention is happening, then there is a provision for imprisonment that may extended up to 2 years. Imprisonment for 2 years or fine or both. Next penalty is section 119. If any false entry has been done from anybody in the patent register, okay, so false entry in any of the register or copy of any entry in any such register, false writing, then in all of these conditions, imprisonment, and that imprisonment may exceeded up to 2 years or fine or both. Next, section 120. Unauthorized claim of patent rights means the person does not even apply for a patent, not he has granted patent, but he is using the word patent. He is using patent word and exercising all the rights that are vested with patent. So falsely represents the article sold by him. Any person who is selling anything and it is falsely representing in the market and to everybody that that product or that article is patented in India, or it has filed any application. So neither in reality, neither he has filed any application nor he has granted any patent in India, but falsely representing that thing into his articles or goods. So that person will be given fine, and that fine will extend up to 1 lakh. Okay, false representation of. If it is happened by mistake, then the controller will consider it. But if it is shown that by purposely it was done by any of them, maybe any employee of patent office or from other third party also, if by mistake it is happened, then it's okay. But if something has done purposely, any false entry, then it will be the imprisonment for 2 years or fine or both. Controller will hear in each and every case. Whosoever be the aggrieved person, the controller will hear to them. So unauthorized claiming of the patent rights. So neither the person has any application filed, neither he has granted patent in India, but whatever the articles or the products he is selling in market, he is representing that the same product is protected by the patent. So then the fine may be extend up to 1 lakh. 1 lakh fine he will, that patent office will impose. So in patented articles, either engraved, either impressed word like patent or patented or some other word. So just only by writing this, nobody can think that the patent is granted. So patent number need to be mentioned with these numbers. The patent number, the granted patent number. Okay. Or if the patent application is filed, then it should be written on the article or product like patent is pending or patent is applied for. Okay. So neither application is filed, but the person is using these. Neither the patent is granted, but the person is using these words. Neither in India or nor in other country also. So at that time, that person will be fined with the 1 lakh. Okay. Section 121. If any person is wrongfully using the word patent office in his board or in his any website or maybe business card using this word, okay, in his place of business, in any document issued by him or otherwise, he is using this word, and neither of and that person, neither he is related to the patent office, neither he is working in patent office, but he is only showing that he is affiliated to patent office. Whatever the documents he is issuing uh, confirmed are confirmed from the patent office, or his place of business is connected with the patent office, and he is using this word with regarding to his business. So, wrongful use of word patent office. That person who is not authorized to use this word in his place of business or any document issued by him, he is using this word. So, the fine will be imprisonment, and that will be extended up to 6 months or fine or both. So, without receiving authorization or with proper central government notification, nobody can use this word patent office. Section 122. Any person, if any person, okay, who is required to furnish information, any person who is required by the central government. Central government is asking to any person to furnish information regarding that 100 subsection 5 regarding the usage of the invention for the government purpose. And if that person is refusing to furnish that information or failure to supply that information, okay, and there is one condition also, controller is asking the regarding the working of patented invention. So after grant of the patent, every year the patentee needs to file under section 146, form 27, I think, and that form he need to give the working of that patented invention. So either in any of the condition, either that person is not furnishing information of patented invention regarding the usage of invention for the government purpose, or neither he is uh, furnishing information regarding working of the patented invention. So in any of these conditions or maybe both, the fine will be up to 10 lakh rupees. And if whatever the information he has furnished, it is false, okay, so then imprisonment that may be extended up to 6 months or fine or both. Here Form 27 is required to fill every year by the patentee regarding the working of the patented invention. Yes, Form 27. So if Section 123 is talking, if the patent office practices the filing, the searching, the prosecution, the proceeding, whatever the actions or acts related to this patent act is done by non-registered patent act, the person is not authorized, neither he is passed in exam, neither he has any patent certificate, neither he is registered in the patent agent e-register, but he is practicing like a patent agent. Then, and he contravenes section 129, means he is by doing fraud, he is practicing like an patent agent. At that time, that person will be punishable with fine which may extend to 1 lakh, and if that offense is for the first time, then it will be 1 lakh. But second or other subsequent offenses, the fine will be 5 lakh to that person who will practice all the workings of the patent agents, but in reality he is not a registered patent agent. If there any offense, if any fault or contravention is done by company, okay, so offenses done by company, then all of the company, all the employees will be responsible for that offense. If any information is submitted to the patent office from that company is false, okay, or maybe they are not furnishing any information, so at that time all the employees working in that uh, company will be punishable regarding that offense, okay. But it is proved by the director of the company or the owner of the company that the offense was committed without his knowledge, the offense was unintentional, and after knowing of that offense he exercised all due diligence to prevent that committed offense. So if the owner of the company or the director of the company proved that the offense was committed was unintentional, and he took all the due diligence to prevent that crime, at that time there will be no liability of punishment on the owner, on the company, or any of the employees. But he need to prove that he was not aware of that offense. If that offense is committed with the consent, if offense is committed with the consent or with the negligence of the director, any partner or company, so any of them, then any of them, either the company director or the partner or the whole company will be deemed to be guilty if the offense was done with the consent of all of them. Next we have chapter appeals to the appellate board. This is chapter 19. So regarding the decisions of the controller, if someone wants to appeal to the higher authority, then the directions or the decisions given by the patent office will be heard in appellate board. So the aggrieved person, it can be anybody, against the decision of some inferior uh, body like the patent office or maybe high court or somebody, then those appeals will be heard in appellate board. Before the appellate board, those appeals were be happened in High Court. But in 1999, after the establishment of appellate board, all the cases of that hearing or the appeal transferred to the or heard into the appellate. Section 106. Section 116 is appellate board. So the creation or establishment of appellate board is happened or it is entitled in Trademark Act 1999 under Section 83. So Section 83 of Trademark Act 1999 is telling about that there should be a higher authority to whom the appeals need to be heard. Okay, and the same act has defined the jurisdiction, authority, and power of the appellate board. In appellate board, they have technical members. Okay, and in Trademark Act, they have given what should be the qualifications of those technical members. If someone want to become technical member, then one of the qualification is that 5 years, minimum 5 years working as a controller. If some person has worked in patent office at the designation of controller for 5 years, then he shall be eligible for a technical membership. And if a patent is worked for 10 years, minimum 10 years, then he can also apply for a technical membership with appellate board. Section 117, staff of appellate board. Who will be the other staff or employers or officers of appellate board? So central government has all the authority to determine the nature, the category, and the employees of the patent office. Under the central government, all the employees will have salaries, allowance, and the other conditions need to be considered. There is one person that is superintendent, and that person is the chairman of the appellate board. That chairman is the head of the appellate board. All the officers are worked under that superintendent or chairman. This is very important section. Every year, one question from this section comes in exam. Section 117A, appeals to appellate board. So what kind of appeals someone can file in appellate board and what not? So subsection 1, except in subsection 2. They told that leaving that subsection 2, whatever the sections written here, except those sections, there will be no appeal shall lie from any order, any decision, any direction made or issued under the central government or the controller. So except the section mentioned in subsection 2, except these sections, no appeal shall be lie in IPAB regarding any direction or order or decision given by either by the controller or the central government. Subsection 2, what sections of Patent Act covered in IPAB? An appeal shall lie from any decision, order or direction made or issued under the central government. So controller has given any order or maybe central government has any order. If those orders are related to these sections, then any aggrieved person can appeal in IPAB. So the sections are 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Section 21 is missing here. Time for putting an application in order for grant. That section is missing here. Section 25(4), 26 is missing here. Then section 28, 51, 54, 57, rectification of register, surrender, lapsed. Okay. Then 64 is also not here. Section 66, 69, assignment, 78, 84, 85, 88. These are compulsory licensing. Okay. So all these are covered for appeal. Except from these section, no appeal shall lie. Nobody can file appeal in IPAB. So IPAB has given some forms to file appeal in IPAB. These forms are different from our patent forms. And with this form, whatever the decision we need to review, or we we need to initiate into IPAB in, with that order, decision or direction either given by the controller or the central government, and with the prescribed fee, we need to send to the IPAB within the 3 months from the date of that order. So if the controller is given any order and some person is not satisfied with that order or any decision maybe by the central government, so that person with prescribed form with fees and that the decision will file in IPAB within 3 months of the decision. Yes, it is not here, but if the counter claim is filed that infringement and revocation is happening, then it will transferred here. This is very important section, section 117A. You will get one question from here also. Learn these by heart. Section 117B. What is the procedure and powers of appellate board? So the procedures and powers of appellate board has been written in the Trademark Act. So the Trademark Act and the sections 84, 87, 92, 95 and 96 shall apply to the appellate board regarding the procedure and power of appellate board. Section 117C, bar of jurisdiction of court. Okay, so bar of jurisdiction of court, they are asking that no court or other authority shall have or entitled to exercise any jurisdiction, power or authority in relation to the matters referred to in subsection 2 or 117D. Whatever the appeals in the previous slide, there was sections mentioned. There were lots of sections mentioned on which any person can appeal. Okay, so there will be no court or no jurisdiction will apply on those decisions of regarding that sections in IPAB. So no court or any direction or any authority will have any power regarding these two sections. If IPAB is taking care in regarding anything regarding related to these two sections, means the hearing of appeals and in this the procedure how to rectify the register, in these two things there will not be any authority to ask or to say anything to IPAB. Section 117D, procedure for application for rectification of register before the appellate board. So if any person want to rectify the patent register, so application will be given for the, if there is any application is given for the revocation of the patent under section 64 or rectification of register is filed in under section 71. So IPAB, for both of these conditions, IPAB has certain forms. Okay, so the person, if he want to initiate the revocation or he want to rectify the patent register in any of these two conditions, there are forms prescribed by the IPAB. It will be filed in those prescribed form to the IPAB. A certified copy of every order or the judgment shall be communicated to the controller by IPAB. Okay, in hearing or in proceeding of those, in these matters, if any decision is happened, so that decision will be communicated to the controller by the IPAB. In any of these conditions, either the rectification of register or in the revocation of patent, if something is decided by the IPAB, so that order or judgment copy shall be communicated to the controller by the IPAB, and controller then shall amend and rectify the register according to that order. Section 117E, appearance of controller in legal proceeding. So during any appeal, whatever the legal proceeding is happening, either it is related to the controller or the central government. So controller has the right to present in those legal proceedings. And if that proceeding is related to the alteration, rectification of the register or any question related to the practice of the patent office is raised. If any person is aggrieved regarding the working of the patent office, or is there any issue regarding the rectification of the register, and that person appeals to the IPAB, then controller has the power to sit in that legal proceedings, and he will give his statement also with his sign, and it is up to the IPAB to provide any cost to the controller. Okay. Here, section 117F, cost of controller in proceeding before appellate board. So it is on discretion of appellate board to give any cost to controller if he is present in the proceedings. This is again very important section, section 117. Transfer of pending proceedings to appellate board. Okay, so all the proceedings that are pending in high court, whatever the cases are pending will be transferred to appellate board. This provision is given in the Patent Act. So all cases of appeals against any order or any decision of the controller, and all the cases pertaining to the revocation of the patent. Okay, either the decision is related to the patent office or the any decision or order related to the revocation of patent. Okay, all orders will be transferred to the appellate board, except other than a counter claim in a suit for infringement. If there is any revocation and infringement suit is going on at that time, that suit will not transfer from high court to IP. And the other condition is rectification of register is pending before any high court. So if in the high court, if one case is pending for the rectification of register, that will not transfer to IPAB. And if there is any suit for infringement and revocation is going on and counter claim is filed in infringement case, in both of these cases, the case will not transfer from high court to IPAB. Other than this, all the cases shall be transferred to the appellate board from such date as may be notified by the central government in the official gazette. So in central government in their official gazette will notify the date on which the cases are transferred from high court to IPAB. And the appellate board may proceed with the matter either de novo. So appellate board will start the hearing on each and every appeal from the start, from the scratch, or from the stage it was transferred. it the appellate board has the power to either the start or to start that proceeding from the start, from the scratch. The IPAB will start the hearing, or at the stage from which it is transferred from High Court to IPAB. Section 117H, appellate board has power to make rules. So appellate board has their power to make their own rules regarding the proceedings related to this act. So if there is any conditions appeared before them where the rules need to be made, at that time appellate board will make their own rules. Now we are going to next chapter, power of controllers generally. Chapter 15. In this chapter, only one or two sections are important. Okay, so I will discuss those one or two sections only. Section 77. This is very important. Controller to have certain powers of a civil code. On what conditions the controller will have power as a civil court judge? Okay, so controller will have power for summoning, enforcing the attendance of any person, or examining him on oath. So like in court, we have provision for the summon, for enforcing someone for oath. Controller can also do that. Controller has a power to require any discovery or production of any document. Controller can ask for any document related to patent proceeding. He can receive evidences on affidavits. Controller has the power to receive evidences on affidavit. He can issue commission for the examination of witness. He can examine the witness also in any dispute related to any issue. If there are some witnesses related to any case, or there is witness of any document, so controller has a power to examine those person or that document also. Controller has also power to award the cost also, maybe in any proceeding or in any case. Controller has review his own decision. If he has given any order or decision and it is against some person, so that person, form 24, in form 24, that person, that aggrieved person who is not satisfied with the controller's decision, can ask controller to review his decision. Okay, and that application will be made in form 24 in the prescribed time and in the prescribed manner. In the 1 month of controller's decision, when in form 24, any aggrieved person can ask controller to review his own decision. Okay, and it can be applied within 1 month, and with form for 1 month more. Okay. G. Any person, it may be any patentee also, any opponent also. Any person can request controller to review his decision. Here also setting aside an ex parte. If there was some case going on and one party is present and other is absent, and the controller has decided ex parte in the favor of the party that is present. At that time also, if form 24 is filed within 1 month of that decision and in the prescribed manner with fees, then controller will hear that also. Okay, and apart from these mentioned, any other matter also, if any aggrieved person feels that controller needs to think on that issue, then controller have the power to decide that also. Section 78, power of controller to correct clerical errors. So if there is any clerical errors present in either in any register or any specification, under rule 122, controller has the power to correct those. Section 79, evidence how to be given and power of controller. So evidences need to be given in affidavit. Rule 129 is talking about this. Section 80, exercise of discretionary power of the controller. In this section, it is talking about that whatever the powers are already discussed here, apart from this, controller, without prejudice to any provision contained in this act requiring the controller to hear any party the proceeding thereunder or to give any such party or opportunity to be heard. So nobody can force controller for to hear him. Okay. The controller shall give to any applicant for a patent or for amendment of a specification any prescribed time an opportunity to be heard before exercising adversely to the applicant and this discussion. So if controller is going to give any decision regarding the hearing or the supplying of any document and that decision is going to be adverse to the other person, so at that time controller has the power to set a hearing, and after hearing the controller will decide regarding that decision. Okay, provided that the party desiring a hearing makes the request for such hearing to the controller 10 days in advance. If some party wanted to be here, so 10 days before the final hearing, they will ask the controller or the request for controller to hear them. Next is section 81, disposal by controller of applications for extension of time. Where under the provision of this act or the rules made thereunder, the controller may extend the time for doing an act. Okay, so controller has the power to extend the time which he thinks fit. Okay, so after giving that extension of time, he will review all the conditions. Then after that, he will extend the time, and nothing in this act shall be deemed to require him to give notice to anybody to hear the party interested in opposing the extension, nor shall any so nobody can oppose the controller's decision for the extension of time. No appeal shall lie regarding the controller's power for the extension of the time. Yes, I will provide after this. So today's section is over. So next we have left compulsory licensing, and then major topics are covered. And if you have any discussion or any question or any query, then we will discuss in group. Okay. So for tomorrow is finished. Thank you, everybody.